Good morning and welcome to another day of Read Alouds. I hope that you are all having a wonderful day and are excited for what is to come. So today we are going to read a story called Down the Road. And in this story, Mama and Papa agree that eggs for breakfast would be delicious. But they're too busy working to go to the store to get those eggs. So they decide that Hetty is old enough to go all by herself. That sounds like an exciting story. I wonder what happens when she goes to the store on her own. Let's find out. Down the Road. Down the Road by Alice Schertle and illustrated by E.B. Lewis. Hetty lived in a little gray house with a big stone chimney and a screen door that squeaked in a friendly way for coming and going. In back of the house was a tin roof shed where Papa mended other people's trucks and tractors and cars that weren't running anymore. In front of the house was a dusty road that ran through a field, up over a hill, and out of sight. Sometimes Hetty walked with Mama down the dusty road. Sometimes she walked with Papa. But Hetty had never, ever been allowed down the dusty road all by herself. Why do you think she wasn't allowed to go there? Yeah, maybe it looked unsafe. Maybe she was too little to go somewhere on her own. Maybe she just didn't know how to go somewhere. All those could be right. One afternoon, Mama said, "Mr. Birdie's speckled hens are laying. Wouldn't fresh eggs be nice for tomorrow's breakfast?" She sighed and shook her head. "I just don't have time to walk to Mr. Birdie's. It's too bad." "Scrambled eggs for breakfast?" said Papa. "If only I had the time, I'd go myself." "I can do it," said Hetty. "I'm big enough to go to Mr. Birdie's all by myself." "Well," said Mama. "Look at this big girl," said Papa. "Hetty can do it, Mama. Absolutely." How nice that Papa thinks so much of her. Papa gave Hetty a handful of coins and a wicker basket. 1 dozen eggs, he told her. 12 big beauties, no cracks. "Be sure to say thank you, Mr. Birdie," said Mama. "Come straight home," said Papa. "Don't dilly-daddle," said Mama. Squeak, bang, went the screen door, and Hetty was on her way. She marched straight down the dusty road, swinging the basket and jingling the coins in her pocket. This is what it's like to be grown up, Hetty thought. You have money in your pocket and you can go all the way down the road by yourself. She listened to her shoes going thump, 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 and she made up some walking words as to say as she went along. Down the road, 1 and 2, eggs for breakfast, howdy do. Eggs for breakfast, clickety-clack. Eggs for breakfast, not a crack. She's good at making up songs. Bump went the basket against Hetty's knee. Bump, bump. When this basket is full of eggs, thought Hetty, I'll walk my smoothest so they won't roll around and break. She practiced walking as if she were skimming across a frozen pond on ice skates. Pretty soon, her walk was so smooth that she balanced the wicker basket on her head and climbed all the way to the top of the hill before it fell off. With the basket over her arm, Hetty raced down the other side, her pigtails flying. So, how do you think Hetty's feeling right now? Yeah, she's really excited. She thinks she is a big kid. She's dancing and rhyming and just all excited about being able to go get those eggs on her own. She felt inside her pocket to make sure the coins were still there. Then she continued down the road, through a meadow, across a stream, past a house or two, down a street, around a corner, up some steps. Whew, she sure has to go a long way. and into the cool shadows of Mr. Birdie's Emporium and Dry Goods Store. She got there all on her own. Good for her. Well now, said Mr. Birdie, here's Hattie all by herself. Good day, Mr. Birdie, said Hetty, just as Mama would have said. I'd like a dozen eggs, please. She slapped the coins down on the counter, just as Papa would have done. 12 big beauties, no cracks. Wow, she sure is responsible and grown up. While Mr. Birdie put 12 big brown eggs into the wicker basket, Hetty walked slowly down a cluttered aisle, looking closely at cans and cartons and bolts of fabric, just as if she might decide to buy something else. Before she left, she remembered to say, "Thank you, Mr. Birdie." She did everything Mama and Papa asked. Around the corner went Hetty, down the street, past a house or two, doing her smooth walk and holding the basket carefully so it wouldn't bump against her knees. When she came to the stream, she stepped with one foot on a fallen log. What if it wobbles? Thought Hetty. What if this log wobbles me off and I drop the eggs? She stepped down into the cold water and splashed across the stream, straight across to the other side. No use taking a chance, thought Hetty. Squish, squish went Hetty's wet shoes on the dusty road. Squish, 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 and Hetty said her walking words. Down the road, 1 and 2, eggs for breakfast, howdy do. Hetty was so busy doing her smooth walk and saying her walking words and admiring the eggs in her basket that she didn't see a rock sticking up in the middle of the road. She walked along, getting closer to the rock with every step. Eggs for breakfast, clickety-clack. Eggs for breakfast, nada. Ouch! Uh-oh. What do you think's gonna happen? Oh no, let's find out if you're right. Hetty's toe hit the rock and she stumbled forward. She had to hop and jump to keep from falling. Inside, the eggs rattled together with a little clinky sound. Oh no, said Hetty. She knelt down on the road and took the eggs out of the basket. Scarcely breathing, she examined every one. Not a crack, she said with a sigh. She wiped each egg off on her shirt and put them all back inside. I was getting nervous for her. Then she was on her way again, this time keeping an eye out for obstacles on the road. It seemed like a very long road. The sun was hot, and by the time she reached the meadow, Hetty was tired. But there, in the middle of the meadow, was a big, wild apple tree full of bright red apples. Sweet, juicy, crispy, cracky apples. Oh, what do you think she's gonna do? I think she has to, right? She has to pick those apples. Look at her thinking face. She's trying to think. If I do this, could something bad happen to the eggs? Let's find out what she decides. Papa's favorites. Mama's too. Hetty herself was very fond of apples. Just 3, thought Hetty, and then I'll go straight home. She made her way through the weeds, snagging foxtails in her socks and holding the eggs basket carefully in front of her. Hetty picked an apple for Mama. She picked an apple for herself. Now for a big, red, Papa-sized apple. She reached up, and the wicker basket tipped just a little bit. She reached higher, and the basket tipped a little more. Oh no. Look at what happened. Splat! Hattie wanted to cry. She wanted to hide. She wanted to climb up in the apple tree and never ever come down. She didn't want to go home and tell Mama and Papa there would be no eggs for breakfast. She has to, right? She has to go home and face the music. Up she climbed, right up onto the old apple tree, as high as she could go. And there she sat, just thinking and feeling sad and not wanting to go home. Oh no. After a long time, Hetty saw something moving way down the dusty road. It was Papa. Hetty made herself as small as she could. Papa, whose sharp eyes never missed a thing, came striding straight through the tall grass. "So," he said, "this is where I find you. Is this how you bring eggs home for breakfast?" Well, he's just mad that she didn't come home. Wait till he finds out about the eggs. "I was picking apples for us," said Hetty with a sob. "I broke the eggs, Papa. Every single one." Papa nudged the basket with the toe of his boot. "I see," he said. "And you climbed up onto the tree to think it over?" Suddenly his face wrinkled into a smile. "There's no finer place than an apple tree to think things over," said Papa, and he climbed up beside her. Looks like he's not as upset as we thought he might be. By the time Mama came through the meadow grass, there was a pile of apple cores underneath the tree. Hetty and Papa had chins sticky with apple juice. Yeah, they were eating those apples. Mama nudged the basket with the toe of her shoe. "Just look at this. I'm waiting for 12 beautiful eggs, and what do I find? Shells." "I'm sorry, Mama," said Hetty. "I dropped the eggs. I was trying to pick some apples." "Fine, sweet apples," said Papa. Mama stared up into the tree. "Well, well," she said. "Just look at the two big birds in the apple tree." Papa whistled like a magpie. "Tweet, tweet, tweet," went Holly. Pretty soon, there were 3 big birds in the apple tree. Mama put her arm around Hetty. "I'd almost forgotten how lovely the world looks from a tree," Mama said. "Everyone should spend some time in an apple tree," Papa agreed. "Absolutely." When they walked home along the dusty road, they had not one egg among them. But Mama's skirt and Papa's pockets and Hetty's basket were full of sweet red apples. And the next morning, there was apple pie for breakfast. And that's the end of our story. Now, a lot like the story we read yesterday, they really turned their negative into a positive. They transformed their negativity. Hetty did such a great job, all on her own, walking to the store. But she made the mistake of climbing to get an apple and losing all of her eggs. But it was a good thing that Mama and Papa didn't get frustrated or mad at her. Instead, they thought about what they could have instead of eggs. That's an awesome way to think. I love the way that this family really thinks about their situation and makes that negative into a positive. So your job for today, remember to take out a piece of blank paper or notebook paper and answer our question for today. What lesson did Hetty learn? Where in the story? So this is a two-parter. I want you to think about, what did she learn? And where did she learn it? Was it in the beginning, the middle, or the end of the story? And I've given you a starter in pink today to help guide your thinking. In the blank, Hetty learned... What did she learn? Make sure that you hold on to your paper so that when you're finished, you can go off and read on your own for 20 or 30 minutes. And you'll turn your paper over and think about your own stories. Did any of your characters learn something? Where did they learn it? I'll see you next time.